Hands up, reach down, release the tension in the back of the legs, go down as deep as you can, turn to your right, turn to your left, back to center, lift up, inhale, exhale. Okay, one more time, hands up, reach down, 1, 2, 3, to your right, 2, 3, to your left, 2, 3, center, inhale, exhale. Okay, hands on your waist, circular movements, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. Reverse, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. Center, cross, knees, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. Switch hands, reverse, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. Okay, hands on your waist. Okay, neck turning, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. Back and forth, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. Center, tilt to the side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1 and 2. Okay, now circular movements. 1, 2, 3. Reverse, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, center, hands up. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Okay, now we're going to spread the feet out. Turn your shoulders, which is really twisting your spine. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, and stop. Okay, we're going to turn. We're going to stretch out a bit. This is really to open up your joints so you can go down into some of the deeper postures. If this is a problem for you, you should avoid this exercise. But if you can do it the best you can. I try to sort of demonstrate what the stretching is, but at the same time, this is for
a large viewer audience or potentially a demographics that's pretty broad, so not all these exercises achieved with people that are starting at a later stage. So these are, if you never stretched throughout your life, it's very hard to start stretching after 60 years of not stretching. So, but it's never too late to start, but start off slowly, try to build the flexibility, and that's really something that's important, to stay limber and get the range of motion as big as you can anyways. Stretching the back of the legs, whether it's like this or when your legs are parallel, it's really to develop some release of the tension in the back of the legs. Tension is really a restrictor, and tension is really something that increases with age, mainly from non-use and balance of those movements. Now, those are those movements. Then we have this that I do, and we stretch out here, but this joint and this, so this is really involving the hips and your knees. Another problem in society is the hips and the knees and the shoulders that don't get enough range of motion, or maybe the lack of use, but the lack of proper use is really more of the important term, because if you're not used to bringing your arms above your head or actually spreading your hips enough, then a lot of the muscles in the inner thigh, the adductors, actually become very tight. And if all of this is to help stimulate circulation, tension is also restricted to circulation. So, fluids are going to seek a path of least resistance. So, if you have resistance through tension, then the circulation's not going to be as good, or maybe just compression holding those, or even just stopping the flow of the blood by sitting and too long. It's not good. So this is just opening up the hips. Sometimes it's tough enough just to bend down into this position. And people don't actually like to bend their knees or squat down. When you pick up something, people don't like to bend their knees. They would rather kind of reach down. Okay, so that kind of works the inner thighs. Okay, now we're going to put the hands on the waist, get the circles going in the leg, and reverse. So even though this appears to be doing nothing, it actually is difficult for people that never made a circle with their knee like this. So what do you have to do? You have to kind of work it into your body so that you begin to learn to make circles, These are just motions that you have the ability to do if you use it. If you don't use your wrists like this, or you don't use your hips like this by turning, then obviously your body doesn't know how to do it. I talk about motor skill being a learning curve. You have to learn to move, but the way to learn to move is to move and develop that pattern. If you don't develop the pattern, then you're not going to be able to even create that motion. Okay, we're going to stretch the wrists. So Tai Chi is one of these exercises that seems a bit foreign to a lot of people, or even the learning process is a little bit challenging because, it's the kind of learning that you would do in dance or any of these performance arts. But the thing is, it does take practice, it does take memory. It's the same memory that you use to learn music or learn different tasks that have sequences. So we stretch up. So this is a stretch of the upper body, your shoulders, your fingers, your wrists. We stretch just to increase the range of motion in the ligaments and the tendons, right? The ligaments and tendons, they connect to the joints, and what drives those is the muscle contraction. So the muscles are tight, then there's going to be really not a lot of range. So when my hand is like this, actually it's balance. When I go like this actually releases and this pulls, and the opposite happens. It's how we create motion. But the thing is, if you don't get your musculature working and releasing, and that's what has to happen when we do any of these movements, then again it becomes somewhat dysfunctional. Dysfunctional in the sense that you just don't know how to create that movement. So practice is what you have to do. Practice, is a term, but the thing is, you really have to go through the motion to experience what it is to create the motion. And if you are able to do it the first time around, then probably your body's already familiar with doing something like this. Okay, hands on the waist. We did the circles here, we did the circles here. So that's the hip joints. We have the feet and the ankles, the knees. Now we do the shoulders. Some important thing is work every joint in your body, especially the major joints. Your shoulders, your elbows, your wrists, your ankles, your knees, and your hips. Those are your major joints. Everything else is kind of movements that are very more challenging to move on a volunteer basis. And you really don't know the potential of your movements until you start learning to move. Reverse. There's many people that watch some of the things that people do, like stretching or kicking, and then first words out of the mouth is, "Oh, I can't do that." And the reason why you can't do that is because you wouldn't even want to attempt to do it. But another thing with what we're doing with Tai Chi is it doesn't take a lot of physical strength in a sense, and it's done slowly. So there is a benefit to doing it slowly. The chance of injury is going to be less. And strength, if you prescribe this and you're doing it, as a prevention of age-related generation, or improving balance, or maybe build some strength in the legs, you're doing it through weight bearing. You're carrying your weight, so your legs will get stronger as you shift your weight and you stand on one leg. Obviously, you're supporting a lot of weight on that one side. Now, if you're a bit overweight, then that's going to be a lot of weight over that leg that you're not used to supporting. So you have to build the strength. So we build strength that way. Is it flexibility? Is another thing that's you develop through movement, and the range of motion will increase, just like we did this. So that's what we're doing. We're increasing range of motion, and we're doing movements in space. That's proprioception. Okay, now you see a lot of these movements like this, or pressing down. Those are breath and movement type motion. So Tai Chi is classified as a Qigong. Qigong is a breath and movement type exercise. There is additional benefits to it. It's meditative. It enhances the memory in the brain. It builds sequential memory. It builds coordination where your body works, relationships from right to left working together, and the legs and the arms working together. And then you actually will do a little twisting and turning and bending, so you work your hips and all of these little bones that are here. So movement is essential to circulation. So the benefit to circulation is really through gentle, subtle movements. So it's really important to move gently, but then it has to be organized. It has to be systematized. It has to be directed. So that's what we're doing. When we push, it's a direction. When we pull up, it's a direction. When we press down, it's a direction. So you have to define these directions, and the more accurately you define these directions, the more skillful you would be. So well, at least we do. We work with a lot of reference points: eye level, nose level, center line, shoulder width, and degrees. I like to work with degrees in direction, because with the degrees in direction is much more, at least, accurate, and also you can relate to a 45-degree angle. Whereas if you just did a movement randomly, you wouldn't know where it's really going. So if your arms are like this and you're directly to the side, you have this 180-degree line. It's a straight angle. You have a 90-degree angle if you look at it like that. And then you have your 45-degree corners. So if you work off of those angles, then you actually will have a better time figuring out how to do these movements. Now, meanwhile, you're just watching what I'm doing, but how do you interpret that? Without any dialogue, without any understanding, you really don't know why your feet are in this position or where it's going. So my feet are at a 90-degree angle. So this is not quite 90 degrees. So you want 90 degrees, you have to open up your hips. Your feet are in that corner. If I pivot like this, I'm in a square position. If I pivot one of them, that's your 45. If I shift and step up, that's my empty stance. So these are really fundamental ideas. How big or how long the stance is, it varies, with the flexibility and the strength of your legs. The longer the stance, the harder it's going to be to do. So, my advice to you at the beginning, don't go too long, because you're going to feel awkward and uncomfortable and off balance, because you don't have, the understanding at this point. If you've already been doing it and you want to go to a longer stance, it's harder to get out of. So it does take more strength, and you have to pivot, and then you have to shift your weight into that leg, and then you have to pass through. So for a recreational health exercise, you don't need to do it that long. But if you're doing it for competition, or you're doing it for a specific standard, then you have to actually increase the length of those motions. Okay. So when we start off, we have preparation. That's this movement. We have hold the ball, and we have to hold the ball on each side. Okay. A step, actually, from the 45-degree position really is like this. And if I go forward and then turn this 45 degrees and I face that corner, my hips are here, I have to turn my hips back to the front in order to get that step to go. And then the process is the same. So this is footwork. I'm going over this for someone that's really brand new to this. So this is just to give you a sampling of what you have to do to practice the different components of your body. That's lower body. In the upper body, you have this movement, which is preparation. Okay. Then you have this movement, which is really called holding the ball. Okay. Then whichever movement happens after that is really the postures. One of the first postures you learn, I call this the hoop position, is like this, and then this hand is down here, this hand is here, and this hand is down here. If I go to the corner from the hold the ball and I step out and I lift my hand like this, now you have part the horse's mane. If I step up, that was my right side. If you're doing the mirror image, that would be your left. And this is part the horse's mane. Okay? This position, after you open preparation, is a push or palm push. So if you have one hand like this, or one side or the other, this is called stork flaps wings. Some people do it like this, some people do it like this. But the foot position typically is like this. Okay, so there's your stork flaps wings position. And then we have a vertical line, we have a back corner, we have a vertical line, and we have a back corner. You can do a push. So a push is this, a forward push, two hands. A single hand push, a circular movement like this to that is a brush knee movement. If I switch the stance and I go to the back position, I brush down and I push, it's a brush knee on this side. So just kind of look at the hand as brushing the knee, okay? So you can achieve this by just doing the hand movements like this. Now this isn't very accurate because we're just going through the motions, but if you were to try to define some of the directions better, you might want to turn to the rear corner and then turn to the opposite corner like this to create the brush knee. That typically happens toward the front, or the so-called front, because I'm going toward the camera and I'm changing directions by stepping through, or actually changing to the opposite side. So this is brush knee. Now, repulse the monkey actually is going backwards. So the hand holding this position or this position really determines where the movement's going to go, right? So this is repulse the monkey, and this is repulse the monkey. And we go back to hold the ball. So the hold the ball position is important as a starting of a posture in many of the different positions that we have. Just as an example, hold the ball to part the horse's mane. Hold the ball to grasp the sparrow's tail. Okay, so this is holding the ball to grasp the sparrow's tail. Okay, when we transition to here, this is another position that gets you to a posture. This is to the brush knee. This is to repulse the monkey. This is to palm strikes face. This is to insert needle. So you have a starting position like this, you have a starting position like this, you have a position like this. So these are parts of a posture. You have to kind of define your directions. So that's one thing that we do a lot of, is dealing with space and volume in space. Space is actually three-dimensional, so we have to work off of that. Okay, so let's go through the form. That was for newer people. The people that have been following actually have done these postures many times. So you start off with preparation, part the horse's mane. So here's your, we do this 3 times. And when we step out and do the first, there's your right and left, we have a third one. So a lot of it is just sequential memory, building an understanding of what's going to follow. These forms are designed and choreographed so that you can practice these movements. And there's a brush knee, and we do this 3 times. And then we shrum the lute, which is that vertical elbow position. That leads you to repulse the monkey. Okay, so let's try that again. So we start off, we hold the ball, and we do this part the horse's mane movement. Then we have stork flaps wings. And then we set up for the next movement, which is brush knee. So that's done 3 times. So you have an interim movement, which is the stork flaps wings. Now you have this, which is strum the lute. Okay, so each one of these is a posture. This is repulse the monkey. It's done 4 times. So there's a left and right side, or right and left side, and then we do it 2 more times. So you're just repeating the same movement, and then we have grasp the sparrow's tail. We ward off, roll back, press, and push. So these are sometimes called the 4 energies, but it's really another concept, a principle. A ward off, a roll back,